Hello and welcome to this edition of Nonfiction Reviews. In this episode, I will be reviewing a book called They Croaked by Georgia Bragg. This book looks at the deaths of famous people throughout history and the circumstances surrounding those deaths. Or as the book puts it, the awful ends of the awfully famous. There are many famous people throughout history you may know a lot about. You know about their accomplishments, you know maybe what time period they lived, but do you know how most of those famous people died? Here's a couple examples from the book. You may know many things about George Washington. He was a general during the Revolutionary War. He served as President of the United States. His picture is on the front of the quarter and the $1 bill. But do you know how George Washington died? On December 14th, 1799, Washington woke up and was gasping for air. He was also burning up. His wife Martha and Secretary Tobias Lear sent for a doctor. It would take some time for the doctor to get there. To help Washington breathe, his secretary, Lear, served him a drink of molasses, vinegar, and butter. Then he wrapped a rag soaked in smelling salts around Washington's neck. These attempts to improve Washington's condition did not work, and he continued to get worse. Later, bloodletting was done by a double-edged blade by cutting into a vein in George Washington's arm. This let out about half a pint of blood from his body. Why would people trying to treat Washington when he was sick cut into his arm so that he would bleed so much that he ended up losing almost half a pint of blood? Bloodletting was something that had been done for many years, and during Washington's day, it was not uncommon. Some doctors thought that bad blood accumulated in the body and it needed to be removed. Of course, we now know this kind of treatment did not work, and it only made things worse. Other doctors arrived to treat Washington that day, and they tried some other treatments. None of them improved Washington's condition. His health continued to decline. George Washington died that night at the age of 67. It was actually an infection in George Washington's mouth, in the back of his tongue, that killed him. If this happened in modern times, antibiotics would have cured his infection. James Garfield was the 20th President of the United States. He is perhaps most famous for being shot soon after taking office. In fact, he had been president for only about 4 months before he was shot by someone. At the time, the president did not have Secret Service agents guarding and protecting him like the current president does. Why did he not die right after being shot? Because being shot was not what actually killed him. After President Garfield was shot, a doctor soon arrived and examined the bullet hole in Garfield's back by sticking his finger in the bullet hole. Before doing this, the doctor did not wash his hands. None of them could find the bullet. Bullet probes were stuck in Garfield's back to try and find the bullet. This was tried several times, but was unsuccessful. At this point, millions of microscopic germs were inside Garfield's body. Eventually, the bullet hole got infected. After Garfield's death, an autopsy was done, and it was discovered that the bullet never touched any of his vital organs. Unfortunately, it was not until the late 1880s that the practice of stopping the spread of germs through cleanliness was widely adopted by doctors. Also, if Garfield had been shot in modern times, there were many other things, such as x-rays, blood transfusions, and antibiotics, that could have all helped him survive as well. Some other famous people whose deaths are discussed in this book are King Tut, Cleopatra, Pocahontas, and Albert Einstein. If you're someone who would not be bothered by some type of gory details, and you would be interested to learn more about the deaths of different famous people throughout history and the circumstances surrounding those deaths, then this may be a book for you. If my review of They Croaked has caused you to be interested in reading the book, feel free to check out a copy from the Gwinnett County Public Library.